I'll share my screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us see what we are going to learn in today's class. And goal for today's class is to understand what are the building blocks of Python and what could possibly go wrong when you are running Python programs. Then how to debug programs in Python, and also the command line, how to debug the command line in Python. Then how to deal with exception handling. These are the things that we are going to study in today's class. Okay, first let us see what are the building blocks of Python. See, the moment we say building blocks, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? So that means in terms of programming, what are the basic essential things that we need to know to write a program? Similarly, when we talk about what are the building blocks to construct a house, so can you tell me what are the things that are essential? What are the building blocks to construct a house? Students, basically what is needed to construct a house? Hello? Arjun? Students, hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me. What are the building blocks to construct a house?
Raw materials.
Yeah, raw materials. So what are those raw materials? We need basically the brick, we need cement, we need soil, then we need
Water.
water,
Sand.
sand, iron we need to construct pillars and for molding. So like that, there are so many essential things. Then at the end, for ventilation purpose, we need windows, and for entrance, we need entrance and exit, we need the doors. So like that, there are so many things that constitutes in building one house. Similarly, when you talk about programming language, so now very specifically we are talking about the Python programming language. Let us see what are the things that are essential. We consider them as building blocks of Python programming language. Very first thing is the input. See, as soon as we identify the problem domain, we'll start analyzing. So what is the problem, how to deal with it. Then before coding, we'll be having some idea about how to write the code. If it is a complex code, so before writing the program, usually we write the pseudocode. So that pseudocode will decide what is the input, that is actual input. What is actual input? Then what is the expected output from that program? So that means input is very, very essential. Input is a source. Okay, that is what is to be processed before converting it into the output. See, sometimes we read the input and straight away we process it and we get the output. And sometimes we may have to do some pre-processing before converting or before actually processing that input. For example, let us assume when you are dealing with a string and when you are reading from the keyboard, okay, then you need not do any pre-processing, because by default whatever you read from the keyboard is assumed as string and you can process it directly. Now let us assume you have a problem wherein you are writing a program to print the Fibonacci numbers up to n. So that means you are supposed to read the n value from the keyboard. The moment when you read n value of n from the keyboard, actually it is a string value. Then what you need to do? Hello? Tell me now what you need to do that. Before processing the n value, you need to convert, typecast that n into integer type. So that is called pre-processing. Then actual processing is what? The logic what you implement to generate the Fibonacci numbers up to n. That is actual processing. Then what is the output? You will display all the numbers on the terminal. So that is the output, all the Fibonacci series. 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 and so on. Up to n you will display. So that is the output. So input and output are very, very important. So it is very important for us to have the complete clarity about what is the actual input and what is the expected output. Then sequential execution. So what is sequential execution? Sequential execution is nothing but executing the statements or the instructions one after the other in sequence. That is sequential execution. So where the sequential execution happens? Within any block, the execution is sequential. Say for example, main function. Main function, it will execute in sequence one after the other. Then in any given block, let it be the block be a function block or an iteration block, any block. The execution is within any given block, the execution is sequential. Then conditional execution. So see, when you go with conditional execution, so the execution is not sequential. Depending upon the condition, depending upon the outcome of the condition is true or false, so accordingly appropriate statements are executed. That is called conditional execution. So whenever we want to check for the conditions, whenever you want to evaluate the expression, we write conditional statements. Okay, that is one thing. Next thing is repeated execution. Okay, don't confuse repeated execution and reuse. So what is repeated execution, students? Can you give an example of repeated execution?
So iterations.
Okay. Oh, I forgot.
Recursive.
Okay, I forgot to record the session.
So it is
Yeah,
recording.
recording. Fine. Okay, tell me example for repeating execution. Hello?
Recursive functions.
Recursive functions. Okay.
So towers of noise.
Yeah, towers of an eye, we do repetition. Then where else we do? Even several sorting algorithms also can be implemented using recursion, repeated execution. Okay, where in recursion, a function will call itself repeatedly until some condition is true. When the condition becomes false, it will come out of the loop. Then reuse. What is reuse? Code reusability. How to reuse the code? In the previous class itself, we discussed about the modules. How the modules helps us to reuse the code? We can implement the basic functionalities as one module, and we can import that module in some other program. Isn't it? In that sense, we can reuse the code. That is one instance. And within the program itself, we can reuse the code. That means if you have a function which you want to call multiple times, so that is also reuse. That means define once, call multiple times. That is code reuse. What is the other way of reusing the code? Say for example, it is C programming. How to reuse the codes? Tell me, students. When you deal with structural programming languages or procedural languages like C programming, how to reuse the code? Do you have any idea? Think and answer. Ashok, Manjunath, Vaishnavi.
No idea.
See in
Sir, using packages.
packages. Okay. In C program, I'm asking. In C program, there is no concept of packages. There are header files. Instead of package, there we write user-defined header file. So whatever the functionality you want to embed, you embed in the user-defined header file, and you make use of that header file in the programs that you are writing. So in that sense, you can reuse the code. Okay, and another very common thing is within the same program, calling the function a number of times, wherein you will be defining the function body only once and calling multiple times. That is a simple application of reuse. And if you do it in a massive way, so you need to define the user defined header files, and you can make use of those header files in the programs wherever it is necessary. In that sense, you can reuse the code. Then what about in object-oriented programming languages? How to reuse the code? So these are the basic interview questions. Okay, if it is procedural-oriented language, how to reuse the code? If it is object-oriented language, how to reuse the code? Tell me how to reuse the code in object-oriented language. Say, for example, C++. In the previous semester, you all have studied C++. How to reuse the code? Tell me.
Sir, through inheritance, sir.
Okay, that is one thing. Good. Any other? There are so many other ways. Okay, that is one thing. Correct. Inheritance, where you will inherit from the parents. Okay, parents class, and you can reuse the code. Okay, that is fine. After that, what about interfaces? Whether interfaces promote code reusability? Students?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me how. Say, for example, you take any object-oriented language like C++ or Java. So how the interface helps to reuse the code? If your class is implementing that interface, then it will inherit the code from interface, where you will be directly calling the methods, but it will be executing from the interfaces. That means one interface can be implemented by multiple classes. In that sense, it promotes code reusability. Okay, students? Now let us see what could possibly go wrong while executing the instructions, maybe in the command prompt or executing the Python programs. Okay, while executing the in Python, if the instructions are very simple, we deal with command prompt. Directly the interpreter will execute in the command prompt. If there are so many instructions to be executed, then we'll put them in a .py file and we'll execute it as a program. So there are the very first type of thing that can go wrong is always the syntax error. So each and every language is having its own strict syntactic rules, that is syntax rules. So if you violate that syntax, it will obviously generate an error. That is called syntax error. Can you use some examples for syntax error? Students?
Semicolon.
Yeah, colon. Say after for loop, if you miss the colon, it will generate the error. Then after if condition, if you forget to put the colon, it will generate the error. Then instead of using the, say along with print, say for example, you are very much used to Python 2.x, then suddenly you are making a shift to Python 3.x, then obviously you will use print statement without using the bracket. Then that is also the syntax error in Python 3.x. Why? Because in Python 2, you will write print statement, then one blank, after that straight away the double quotes. Within the double quotes, you will put the message. But in Python 3, you have to use the bracket along with the print statement. Otherwise, it will generate the syntax errors. Okay, such errors, which are supposed to be mandatorily to be followed in that language, that is called syntax errors. What are logical errors? How to identify the logical errors, students?
Equivalence operator, sir.
Okay, tell me the full scenario.
A logical error means when the program compiles and executes, no, sir.
Yeah.
It goes wrong because of equivalence operator.
That means it will also generate an error.
Yes, sir.
It will not display the output.
No, sir.
No, logical error means actually you will get the output. Logical error is one which will also generate the output, but the output is incorrect. Maybe your formula is wrong. Say instead of using instead of doing power, you may be doing multiplication. So something like that. Or instead of using star, you may be using plus, or instead of using division, you may be using division modulo. That means logical error means there is a logic in your error. That means in your to process the input, you will be writing some logic, core logic. There can be mistake in your core logic, which may lead to incorrect output. That is called logical error. Say for example, to calculate the simple interest, it is principal amount into time into rate whole divided by 100. Instead of that, if you do principal amount into time into, so first you are calculating P into T, then R divided by 100. So that is incorrect, isn't it? So that is the logical error. Then instead of using double equal to, if you are using single equal to, that means assignment. Double equal to is what? You are checking both are equal or not. You are equating left side with the right side. That is double equal to. Single equal to is assignment operator. Okay, such things are called as logical error. So, but we need to keep in our mind that whenever the logical error occurs, it will generate some output which is incorrect. In that situation, you should be in a position to understand or to interpret that it is incorrect. Okay, that's what I told while dealing with function building blocks of Python programming. It is very important to know what is the actual input and expected output. When we know what is the expected output, obviously we can identify the logical errors. When you don't have any idea about expected errors, we will fail to identify the logical errors. Next is semantic errors. Any area what is semantic errors? What is semantics? See, there is an interview question. So it's a very important question, that is differentiate between syntax and semantics. Tell me the answer. How do you differentiate syntax and semantics? Students, say for example, if you want to read something from the keyboard, say for example, so if you want to read a string value from the keyboard, s is equal to int of enter a string, isn't it? So that is what you write. Okay, that is called as a syntax. Okay, that you know what is the syntax. You are bothered about what is the syntax. Okay, and the interpreter will also see what is the syntax. That is a different story. But how it will interpret whatever the instruction that you have written, that is called as a semantics. So if you write s is equal to int of enter a string, then how the interpreter will understand? Interpreter will interpret it as, so s is a string variable, and then using the input function, you are reading something from the keyboard which is to be stored in the variable s. So that is how it will interpret. That is called as semantics. Okay. So if I write s is equal to input of enter a string value, if I write like that, its semantics is s is a string variable which stores the keyboard input. That is called as the semantics. Okay. So who will do the semantics errors? Even there are chances where because sometimes even your interpreter or the compiler may also read it in a different way. Semantic error. Say for example, I'll give you one better example. We know function with default arguments, isn't it? See, when you use function with default arguments, what happens? If we pass any value, it will not consider the default value. Okay, It will not consider, if you pass any value, then it will not consider any default value. If you do not pass that particular parameter, it will take that value as a default value, which you have already defined in the function definition. But in Python, how the Python works, you need to understand. Say, for example, it will see the default value only when it is defined for the first time. After that, it will not consider the default value. Whatever you are sending as a parameter, that will be assumed. So that is how the Python interpreter will work. But what you may assume that since already you have passed the default value, it doesn't matter what arguments you are passing, every time it will take the default value. So that is the semantic error from your side, isn't it? Okay, that is called semantics. How to interpret the meaning of the instruction, that is called as a semantics. The basic definition of the semantics is it is a way of interpreting the meaning of an instruction. That is called semantics. Syntax means with respect to the program, whether you have written everything properly or not. That is called syntax. For example, if it is C programming, so how to declare an integer variable int space a semicolon. That is called syntax. Semantics means its interpretation in terms of definition, how to process it. Before interpreting, even the compiler cannot process any instruction. So in case of Python, instead of compiler, we have the interpreter. So before execution, it will interpret what is the definition or meaning of that statement. Then only it will process. That is called semantics. How to interpret the statement. That is called semantics. Friends, any doubts in this? Meaning of syntax errors, logical errors, and semantic errors, and the meaning of semantics. Any doubt? Hello? Next thing is debugging. Students, tell me, what is the definition of debugging? Say, for example, yeah. Tell me.
Clearing errors.
Yeah, it's the art of fixing the bugs or errors. Debugging is nothing but it's an art of fixing the bugs. Say, for example, I have written one LabSet program and intentionally I have induced some errors into the program. So instead of typing as it is and telling sir, I'm done with the execution. Okay, that is always wrong, right? So what happens if I make purposefully if I introduce some errors into the code, so then you will start analyzing. So why the error has occurred? So is there any mistake with the syntax? Okay, like that you will start analyzing the code, isn't it? That is called debugging. Now look at the example one. So why it is generating the syntax error? So errors are highlighted in red color. That is how the interpreter will print. If I give avg space sal is equal to 10,000, so it will print the error like that. So what is the error in that? There is a space between average and salary, which is not allowed. So that means average is one word and salary is one word. Okay, so therefore there is a confusion to the interpreter whether to assign 10,000 to average or to the salary, because both are two different words. So hence it is generating the syntax error. So what we should do? We should combine both the words, or in between we should put one underscore or something like that. So here there is a space between the terms average and sal, which is not allowed. Okay, that is a syntax error. Look at the second example, m is equal to 0m. So why it is invalid token, students? If it is C++ or Java, actually that is correct. It will not generate syntax error if you write m is equal to 0m. But in Python, the language itself is very, very, very simplified. So when I say Python, so not only for me, for any programmer, so Python means what is the first thing comes to their mind is that it's a highly simplified language. The things are made very, very easy. See, when you want to write 9, Why to write it 0, 9? Just if you write 9, that is good enough. So since it is a highly simplified language, if you write m is equal to 0, 9, obviously it will generate an error. If you want to write 9, just write only 9, one digit. So Python doesn't allow preceding zeros for numeric values. Keep in your mind. For all the numbers, let it be integer, double, float, long double, anything. So preceding zeros are not allowed in Python. Then look at the third example. Basic is equal to 2000, and the very next statement, DA is equal to 0.3 into basic. So here, B is capital. So in the second line, in the second instruction, B is capital, whereas in the previous line, B is small. So just like Unix, Python is also case sensitive. So hence, there is a difference between ASCII value of small b and capital B. So hence it is identifying that. So it is a name error. So look at here. See in example 3, it is not giving it as syntax error. It is name error. Okay. So actually, basically name error, that is also a syntax error, obviously. Okay. But it is displaying it very specifically as name error. Basic is not defined. Is there any language which is not case sensitive? Students, can you mention one language which is not case sensitive? What about C program, students? Is it case sensitive? Hello? Hello, students? Arjun, whether C program is case sensitive?
No, sir.
That is not case sensitive. Okay. What about HTML?
No, sir.
HTML is also not case sensitive. That means there are languages which are case sensitive. At the same time, there are also languages which are case insensitive. So Python is just like your shell script, it is case sensitive. Okay, next, very important concept, that is exception handling. So let us understand what is the exception and what is the difference between error and exception. Students, already we have studied exception handling in numerous languages. So what is exception handling, and tell me why it is essential? What you know about exception handling, and tell me why it is required. What is exception? Exception is also a type of error, but which occurs during runtime. It occurs during runtime. Okay, not during compile time. So, what are the things that occur during compile time? Syntax errors. If you do any syntax error, that will occur during runtime. Sometimes we do logical errors, which may also result in exception. Say, for example, in this, we are trying to divide C is equal to A by B. So in case if the value of B is 0, so any number divided by 0 is infinity, which will result in an zero division error. Look at here the output. So look at the code snippet. A is equal to int of input, enter A, that means reading value of A and converting it into integer. After that, int. After that, we have B is equal to int of input, enter B, that means reading the B value and converting it into the integer and saving it in variable B. Then C is equal to A by B. In case if the B value is 0, then only it will result in a zero division error. Look at here. So enter A value, that is 12, enter B value, that is 0. Then trace back most recent call last. Look at the error. Okay, this is the error. Zero division error, that is division by 0, which is not allowed. So to avoid such things, we can do exception handling. So in C++ and in Java, we have try catch block, isn't it? Now let us see what is the alternative for try catch block in Python. Checking exceptions using try and except. So instead of using catch, here we use except block. The try block contains the statements involving suspicious code, and the except block contains the possible remedy or instructions to user informing what went wrong and what could be the way to get out of it. So that means, students, we need to understand. So whatever the catch block was doing, that task is performed by except block in Python. So it will give you the hint what went wrong, or it will take some necessary action. If something goes wrong with the statements inside the try block, the execute block will be executed. Otherwise, if everything is fine, the except block will be skipped. Just like when everything is correct, how the catch block will be skipped. Similarly here, when everything goes right, the except block will be skipped. Now consider the example, previous example, that is reading the A and B value and performing C is equal to A by B. So now here there are, when we perform C is equal to A plus B, always there are chances which may result in division by zero error. So to avoid that, we have a try block. So look at the syntax. Immediately after the try, we need to put the colon. That is the syntax. Indentation is very important. Similarly, when you begin except, immediately after the except also you need to put the colon. Then write the action code. So what is the action code here? Division by zero is not possible. So it will give you the hint. Okay, when you write try and except block, and when you are trying to do the division by zero, it will intimate you. So division by zero is not possible. After this, students, any doubt in exception handling? How to implement exception handling? It's a simple technique. So we have to use. So 1 minute, students. Madam, class is there. Class is. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So when we have the suspicious code, that suspicious code should become part of the try block. Then after that, what is the action part that should be written in except block? So when everything goes right, the execution of except block will be skipped. Otherwise, it will execute. Shall we move on to next concept, students? 1 minute. Hello. Sir, class ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. Sir. 2 minutes, sir. ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. Okay. Okay, sir. Students, I have an urgent meeting. Okay, so I'll end the today's class here itself. I have some urgent meeting. So what I'll do? So for you, I'll give one assignment today. So you need to write one program, which is an application of exception handling. Okay, you need to assume one example problem of your own, which should be an application of exception handling. Okay, and you need to submit it by using Google Classroom. Okay, you need to submit your assignments using, you can post your assignments using Google Classroom. Okay, if you check your mail, I have sent the invitation for you all people to join to Google Classroom. Okay, join to the Google Classroom, and also I have posted whatever the small code snippets that we have executed, everything I have posted, and also I have posted the notes for module 1. Thank you. We'll continue in the tomorrow's class. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.